the mission to keep as many men on as many guns for as long as possible. We called him Doc. Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. And now your host, Aaron Chief Siebert.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. Hey, this is a place where our veterans, myself, we're going to tell our stories and how we kind of dealt with combat, how we faced it, how we came back, how we transitioned. And it's a time for our sponsors, supporters, and volunteers to get on here and tell why they support, why they do all the things that they do to help with all the things that combat veterans are dealing with. And they're not always dealing with a lot, but some of them are, and some are dealing with a lot worse than others. Others have transitioned well. More and more are transitioning into something that they want to do, their passions, they're this, and that. And so today I'm talking about veterans in general, to include the combat vets, any vet, and why it's important to be saturated with vocational recreational support amongst our peers and along with our sponsors, supporters, and volunteers. And the reason that it is super important is because once we join the service and we go into this whole environment of supporting one another, this camaraderie, this spirit, this entity, that is a huge bond of a family that is not recognized anywhere else on the planet, I don't think. Matter of fact, we're teaching other countries on how to adapt those kind of principles into their lives, into their culture of serving. Matter of fact, I just want to throw it out there. The Marine Corps' birthday is coming up 3 days away, 2000, November 10th, 1775. If you're sleeping good at night, it might be because someone's standing the wall and someone's taking the fight to the enemy. Someone's ready to take the fight to the enemy. And the Marine Corps is that. It's that entity that hits the beach running. When the sounds of bullets are flying, they're running to that sound, not away from it. So I just want to say happy birthday to the United States Marine Corps. It's another part of my family. I'm a United States Navy Corpsman, FMF 8404, which basically is the best MOS in the Marine Corps. That's an inside joke. Navy has NECs, not MOSs. However, I like to tell the Marine Corps that the best MOS in the Marine Corps is an 8404, not an 0311. But sometimes that camaraderie kind of goes into that. But I just want to shout that out real quick. And that's that camaraderie that I talk about. This spirit, this entity of kind of bantering and brotherhood and all these things that come together. So when I talk about vocational recreational therapy or support in that manner, it's a cross between making sure you have a good quality of job, a good quality of life, and then something recreational that you're pushing yourself towards. These hobbies that you might have dropped off because whatever feelings you have, whatever's going on in your mind and getting into your mind, sitting in your mind, is not very healthy. It causes all kinds of different things. So what's important is to get out there and get that intermingling, that camaraderie, that esprit de corps, and moving forward in a more positive direction, whatever that might look like. Nobody knows the inner circle or the inner pressures or the frustrations or the things that you deal with on a day-to-day basis more than you. And I may just talk about veterans in this fashion, but it's super important also for civilians. There's a lot of pressures they're under. There's a lot of pressure that America's under. There's a lot of things that are going on. And I feel like it's super important for us to be able to talk about it. And we've lost a lot of that. We've lost a lot because you have government entities pitting each other against each other. These political agendas, these political reasons, these business reasons, that markets that we're not aware of. There's a lot of things, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there's some things going on that just don't make sense. And it creates an environment where we can kind of tear each other apart trying to solve the problem. Because the problem is deeper than anybody really wants to talk about or work with or do anything. And they redirect that to another problem that looks like it's worse than the one that you're wanting to talk about. So there's a lot of misguided information going on out there. And that's why it's super important for us to kind of saturate ourselves with veterans doing some really incredible things, whether that's a fishing trip, uh, dog handling, whatever, uh, float your boat, getting out on a boat, doing some deep sea fishing versus stream fishing versus mountain climbing versus mountain biking versus racing. Uh, and I talk a lot about Warrior Built Foundation and the PTSD Foundation of America in here because that's really what I work with the most. But I work with so many other entities out there, organizations that want to help veterans out in different ways. I just got hit up. Is there somebody that helps a veteran with a roof problem? And I don't have that necessarily. I don't know a roofer out there that's willing to help that out. But if there is one, hit me up, please. But there's a lot of questions I get with our combat vets. Hey, can this happen? Can that happen? Um, is there something for this? Is there something for that? Because there's a lot of mistrust out there with all this misinformation. So it's important for us to be able to trust our fellow veterans that have also gone out and already taken paved routes to some of these places, paved routes to a job opportunity, paved routes to this particular great opportunity to go to the outdoors or to go on a trip, or there's a Purple Heart, the military order. The Purple Heart has a lot of really cool things for Purple Heart recipients. One of them being a cruise, and I'll tell you, one of my buddies directed me to that, and someday I'm looking forward to taking that and doing that. And there's opportunities left and right. I don't have the time or the ability to fully go to every single one of these things, but I do know that getting out, being part of nature, being part of a walk, being part of whatever environment you're in, and taking a path that's kind of nice within that environment, even if it's hellish, uh, but to get out and be involved in something, but to be involved in your life, to be involved in whatever those pressures are, dropping those off. And sometimes that's a camaraderie, a warrior group. And I talk about the warrior groups a lot. I run it every Tuesday. I have about somewhere between 8 and 14 people that show up every single week, that come in there not necessarily looking for help, but just wanting that camaraderie and wanting to drop something off. They want to talk about something. Let's talk about it. Let's make it a condition where it's a great place to be. It's a great place to have a conversation. And at the end of the night, you get to feel maybe like you might not sleep that great, but tomorrow night you might sleep good. And when I talk about all these things too, if you're a civilian listening, understand these things are still just as important to you in a different kind of way necessarily. They may not mean the same as it is for a combat vet, or the camaraderie might not feel exactly the same. But I would say, if you're dealing with a lot of things, groups, getting out there and talking about some things, finding a way to drop it off in a more positive manner is super important, because there's all kinds of ways to deal with it in horrible ways, horrible manners, whether it's excessive drinking, um, drinking to fall asleep, taking drugs, alcohol, all these different things to deal with your problems. That is not the way to go. That eventually is going to wear you down. It's going to make you older faster. It's going to create a whole different environment. It's going to create a lot of problems with your labs, and later on, a lot of problems with other systems in your body. Um, Going through a lot of training all the time about PTSD and about things that are going on, and PTSD, just a couple weeks ago, finding out that it affects so many different systems in the body. It's important that we slow ourselves down, relax, learn how to kind of navigate through some of the difficulties that we're doing, because we're 4 times more likely to develop Alzheimer's. We're way more likely to have liver problems, all these things, because eventually these chemicals in our brains affect us. So it's important to find that passion in your life, maybe a job opportunity, maybe something that you're really going to enjoy uh, doing, but also finding the time to not stay hyper vigilant all the time, to not keep the adrenaline rush flowing in your body multiple hours throughout the day. Um, it's exhausting to sometimes go through the day and concentrate on the tactical paralysis around us that's not necessarily real. but we create a real environment in our heads where tactical awareness is always on point. And doing that requires a lot of energy. It's the 5 and 25, always keeping your eye open, making sure you know you're not being followed, making sure all these paranoid type feelings don't overwhelm you. But that eventually takes its toll. So why is it important to get a good job where you have the passion, take your mind off some of those difficulties, and to give you some focus on more positive momentum, surrounding yourself with people that really matter, really care, and really make a difference. These are super important to me. Um, I've talked about this a little bit in the past. I've talked a little bit throughout my time on Combat Vet Vision. This podcast is super important to me, just to be able to kind of throw a lot of things out there. There's a lot of people out there that are doing some incredible All right, cool. I'm back. I apologize for the delay. Sometimes the internet doesn't always work out. But what I was saying is I use this platform to not only tell my story, but to talk about a lot of these nonprofits that are doing some incredible things. If you're a nonprofit that's doing some incredible stuff, hit me up. If you're a person doing some incredible things, hit me up. Uh, you know, um, I have like 4 go-to job opportunities that really work well. One, Trackside, who manages Yokohama Tires, has a job for our combat vets to do some incredible things. Another one, I would say Art Delgado, who is a recruiter for heavy equipment operator, really doing some cool things. Um, uh, I have another one that's a temporary work job situation that will, give you some opportunities in some other ways. There's another one. Graystar is the biggest department complex management system on the planet. They help the PTSD Foundation of America. They have a program that our guys can go to, and they can go through and get a lot of different experiences on and training on apartment management and apartment um, uh, maintenance. And they can come out of that with a really solid job. They hold a they put a package together for these guys to go through the training and come out of that, immediately have a job fair, and then get placed throughout the country in different places that they may want to go to help maintain or manage some apartment stuff. The other one is an electrician that I got. So I got I got a pretty good handful of different ones that I utilize, but these are the ones I utilize the most. And doing this to helping out our combat vets, um, being part of the PTSD Foundation, Warrior Build, Combat Vet Vision, all the different support elements that I do. 14 guys maybe that I've helped get jobs over the last 10 years. It's because everybody's in their lane. Everybody's doing something. Everybody wants to have a passion to their goal, to their life, to whatever it is. Um, so if you tell me you got a job for 40 guys, I just it's just not going to happen, because these guys have already done the pinnacle of their life fighting for the country. I'm talking about the combat vets. Um, it's hard for them to kind of break away from some of the things that are in their life to focus on a job opportunity that's not going to be a passion. It's not going to be fulfilling. So that's why it's kind of cool. Um, I do this also because it gives me therapeutic effect to tell my story, to talk about these things every week that I come on here. Um, there's something about it. There's something in my heart that I want to get off my chest, that I want to tell you, the public. I want to tell the combat vet, take your time. I want you to kind of think about these processes. And my words on here are mine. These are my opinions. This is my thing, and I don't expect anybody to fall within that opinion or my way of life or anything that I talk about. I would like to give you hope, a chance to kind of hopefully relate to something, something to think about, and uh, some things in your life that are super important. I'd like to hear about those too. I hear about them in group. I listen to these guys, and even though our lives don't always match, our politics may not match, our situations may not match, there's a respect, there's a common ground, there's a way to communicate, there's an argument to be had that's uh, not pitting, and I hopefully that doesn't ever occur, but it does in real life. Uh, but to really do this, you have to be a good listener. You have to be a good person to just kind of absorb a lot of different information and not judge it. Just let it be, because it's not yours. In our minds we judge, in our hearts we might judge some things, but it's not worth it. It's not worth it to share that judgment to anybody other than those people that you really truly surround yourself with, that want to hear your camaraderie or your life, or your sarcasm towards it, or whatever it is. But but really it's not meant to be a judgment on that person, or that lifestyle, or that religion, or that situation, or that politics. I hope I never come across like that. And the humanity part of it is to take it all in and just hope for the best, because really you can only control yourself, and even that's very limited, because at the end of the day, the tire's going to go flat. You can drive a car all you want. You can be around a corner. You can roll that car. You can think that you were in the most controlled situation. Your tire, your shoe's going to fall apart. You name it, there's a problem that could be had. Sometimes it just happens. Your pants are going to rip, whatever that might be. Uh, so make sure you're wearing clean underwear, brushing your teeth, and pack a towel and a toothbrush. Somebody always said that. And the towels I pack are very small because it takes up a lot of space. Um, but really, it's always good to come on here. It's good to have the support and sponsorships that I have with sitchradio.com. Thank you, Brian Colburn and Joey, for managing my show, running the pushing the buttons. Joey's doing that. Uh, I'll say it all the time. Brian Colburn pushed me into this direction a long time ago, and I really didn't understand what it was going to be or what it really meant. But the therapeutic effect to it is very important. Um, it's helped me out in a lot of ways. And Brian Colburn, United States Marine, happy birthday to you, brother. Um, and running Sitch Radio, pushing these podcasts. He's got a couple podcasts out there that are helping podcasters. I'd podcast that. Really good podcast. Um, Thanks to my brother, uh, uh, who runs uh, the field op, um, Francisco Carrera. He came on my podcast and kind of took a direction, and his podcast is about field ops and the crazy stories that those kind of bring, and different things. So his is a lot lighter than mine, my subject matter, but I just love it. I've been on a couple other podcasts that are super important and really awesome. There's a shout out to Warrior Built Foundation, ran by Nick Ham, put together with love and care for our combat vets to get out there, guys that actually have combat action devices, to get out there and race Baja, do a whole bunch of other things, softball team, Have the facility that's utilized to help support the PTSD Foundation Southern California chapter to let us run groups inside there um, is really awesome. Um, so many opportunities for the guys to come in, learn how to work on their own vehicles, take apart and do a whole bunch of stuff with the race vehicles, put those things back together and go race them somewhere. Whether it's the Mint 400, California 300 this year, Vegas to Reno, uh, Baja 1000, the Baja 500, Baja 250. We've been to a lot of them, but those things really matter to somebody, to some of us, and that saturated camaraderie, brotherhood that pushes us in these cool directions um, in different ways. The PTSD Foundation of America is growing in a lot of ways. It's pushing a lot of other subject matters. It is now got a clinical director, so it's actually has some clinical side of it that's coming out. They're really going to be pushing into the LA area here in the near future, Arizona, a couple other areas. Eventually they're going to grow, and that's because there's a need. That's because there's veterans dealing with some really horrific stuff, substance abuse issues that push them into other directions, homelessness, all these different things that our combat vets are dealing with. And this gives them a fresh start, gives them the ability to kind of go through um, with that spirit and um, that push to get your life back together for 4 to 6 months in Camp Hope if you need it. Or it's these warrior groups that just keep you from Camp Hope or the aftermath, leaving Camp Hope and being involved in yourself in a more positive direction all the time, weekly, having some group to go to or whatever that is. Maybe it's weekly, monthly, but most of these groups are weekly, and you might not show up, but monthly. But I just want to put it out there that this vocational recreational support that I'm familiar with, that I've been dealing with, that I've been working with through these organizations have been nothing but phenomenal. And just it adds to my life. It gives me that support network. It gives me that battle buddy, and that's the other part. I talk about the battle buddy a lot, but there's more to this than that. It's creating these other avenues of support that I didn't even know about because this exists, because I exist, because somebody wants to get a hold of me and talk to me about something. They want to tell me about their organization, or they want to just touch bases with me and tell me about their situation, how they're ready to help this. Um, Justin Roberts out there, quick shout out to him. He is in Ukraine doing a bunch of stuff for. He's on the front lines doing some. Uh, he's going to be putting a lot of shows together to highlight exactly what's going on in Ukraine. And that's another thing. Ukraine's dealing with a lot of different things, and I just want to put it out there that irregardless of how you feel about anything that's going on in life, if you're not there, if you can't fully wrap your mind around it because you've already formed your opinions about it, or your political arena about it, or you may feel like Russia's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Um, for me, that's not the case. I'm married to a Ukrainian. I'm compromised, if you want to say that. However, I've spent some time in Ukraine. These people have pushed and pushed and pushed to work and be, to me, everything that's great about life. Um, to see them without the benefits of America, without the benefits of their own country, without all these like handouts. If you're a country without handouts, you're a country that's working hard to hopefully support yourselves. So everybody's working, everybody's dressing nice, everybody was pushing. Uh, Before this war had started, um, infrastructure was getting done. Lots of building was going on, new roads, whole bunch of construction on roads that were thrashed. If you spend any time in Mexico and driving up some and down those roads in the past, You see Mexico starting to step that up as well. But Ukraine was really stepping it up, and Ukraine's was doing some incredible things. But if you're a country that's kind of stepping it up next to a country that's not, um, that country probably got jealous. Whatever Russia's issues were, they came into a country that was a peaceful, great country, in my opinion. And I even got pulled over by the cops for accidentally making it through a yellow light or red light. They had to show me the video. They presented this whole thing to me in super kind words, and it said, "Hey, you got to pay this ticket, and you can pay it right now, and it'll be good to go." Pull out the credit card machine, $20. I paid it, and I was guilty. I understand that, but then I still had time to fight that if I wanted to. But the bureaucracy of that was taken out. It was a Judge Dredd kind of situation, and no corruption did I feel at all. So I'm sure there's corruption in everything, in our own governments, in our own situations. But I made it through this country. I left when the war had started, so I understand. And I did my podcast on my exit from Ukraine. If you follow that, check back. It's a 2-part series on that. Take a look at it. But I am happy that America's helping out, because I do understand, and I see how I was there. I see how if Russia had the opportunity to take over this, there's a lot of things next. And eventually, wherever you sit, whatever you do in your life, it doesn't affect you until it totally affects you. The reason why is because globalization is a real thing. If you think that you're just going to put your head down and you're not going to see anything outside of what you're seeing and your vision's 2020, no, vision. There's a lot more than 2020 involved in anything that you're looking at in this world. And I would say just get out and explore it a little bit, because you're going to learn a lot more about yourself and about your country, about your own culture. And what is our culture in America? It's everybody's culture. Everybody in America is somebody from somewhere else, somehow, some way. Very few are native to America. But I just kind of want to put that out there. I want to put my little pieces, a little bit of scope on Ukraine every time I do my show. From here on out, I'm just going to do a couple little segments on it just to talk about it. I've been following up on the news, and irregardless of what you see on the news, politics, it's important for us to still make our own decisions based off the knowledge that we have. The feelings that you have for it are less important to what exactly the outcomes are going to be. So no matter how I feel about paying taxes, no matter how I feel about my pay, no matter how I feel about the pain in my ankle from the shrapnel, I still need to make it through that door. And I can either bitch and moan about it, I can complain about it, I can focus my attention on something else and do something constructive about it, or I can just sit and moan and cry and be a victim. I am a victim, but I'm not playing one in real life. I've been destroyed by a mortar round, lucky to be alive after being hit. But what I want to do is just kind of make a difference each little step in the conversations I have in here. I don't know if I do, but I think I do. And that's good enough for me. As long as I think I'm doing something that's important, I have a lot of passion for it, a lot of love for it, because love is more important than hate, and I don't want to hate. I have to leave that off at the door, and I have to talk about it on Tuesdays, because it's super important to do that. But hey, I'm just going to leave you with this last thought. No matter what I say, no matter what anybody says, no matter what the news says, no matter about the information that you have, do a little bit of research. Just ask yourself, does this make sense? Because it comes down to the most common denominator for me. If that border on the south is open and everybody's just coming across, and we're not going to do anything about it, and our government's not going to do anything about it, every one of those guys that say the border needs to be free. Their door needs to be open too. And the last time I checked, most Americans lock their door. But if you're one of those politicians that's all about open borders, you better leave your door open. Because sooner or later, I'm going to need a place to stay. Just thinking about common sense. That's it. But hey, I definitely hope you have a good one. And this saturation of veterans, super important. And thanks to everybody who supports my podcast, supports me, supports our combat veterans in whatever way, fashion you are. Please think about it, look about it, make your decisions, but feel good about it at the end of the day. Until next time, strength and honor. This is Aaron Siebert, retired Navy Chief, signing off. Out.